I quit and was older and more honest with who I really am, you know, like, but I had to go through all these things. I had to, you know, I worked on my sobriety. I did like steps and had a sponsor and was very, like, I stripped myself down and was very honest with what I really am, like how, you know, because also if I tell myself, like, would I be a better parent if I didn't smoke weed? Well, then I won't be able to smoke any weed. So I'm not going to tell myself that. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today is a different kind of show. I have talked about my sobriety several times, not too much detail. I know people that follow the show know that obviously I was a big weed guy, smoking weed every day my entire life, pretty much. So I think I was probably 12, been giving that a good go. Alcoholic. Cocaine, heroin, even meth. That was a fun run. Ecstasy at one point. Giving it all a pretty good run, you know, acid, shrooms, all that stuff. Didn't really find. I wouldn't say I was addicted to acid or mushrooms. I think I just sort of did them whenever there was no other drug, you know. But definitely addicted to heroin, definitely addicted to cocaine, definitely addicted to meth. And ecstasy. I mean, it was. There's no. If the only reason I didn't do it is because nobody had it. But it was I had other things to do. But when I got sober from alcohol, because I have a heart condition where my heart would go into AFib, and sometimes there's like doctors will say this where Christmas and New Year's, a lot of people go to hospital for this particular thing. You don't even have to have a heart condition. If you drink a lot and you don't drink all the time, your heart can beat irregularly. It's a thing. So, but I actually have a disease of sorts where my heart will go into AFib quite easily if I am to drink excessively. And after having an ablation, that's a procedure where they fuse a certain thing in your heart. It went into AFib again, and my doctor said, have you been drinking? And I said, yeah. And he's like, you're not supposed to do that anymore. And I was like, oh. And I've battled with alcoholism my whole life. And the threat of... Because when you go into AFib, one part of your heart beats really fast. And people that don't know, when you go to the ER, they say that you're having a heart attack. So I've been on the bed with the heart monitors, and they are saying, Jason, Mr. Ellis, you are having a heart attack right now, and we're going to knock you out, and then we're going to take you to another room where we're going to do the fucking clear, and fucking boom. And that's really scary. Like, I was really scared. I remember looking at the roof and going, I don't even believe in God, but if there's anybody out there in the atmosphere that could hook me up with not letting me go to the spirit world right now, that would be much appreciated. It was one of my first experiences with life is too short. If I am going through something, if I am this person, I'm going to admit it. If I have any quarrels with old friends, I'm going to immediately call them and apologize and rectify and patch that up, because it was all small and it didn't mean anything. It was a real eye-opener being on that table. I really thought I was going to die. And when you really think you're going to die, you know, I've had compound fractures. I've had a lot of pain in my life. That was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, if not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So by the third time that happened, where they were going to electrocute me and knock me out, and the doctor was like, have you been drinking? And I realized that if I drink again, maybe I don't die, but there's a good chance I go to the ER and they electrocute my chest with those paddles. And I don't want to do that ever again. So I stopped drinking. Then I was, somebody brought up, Jace, have you tried Kratom? And Michael and I have had Kratom on the show. We talked about it. We had a producer that talked about the scary parts of how dangerous Kratom was, and Tully and myself made fun of him for years. At least a year.
Yeah, I don't even remember exactly how we started talking about it. I think more than anything, it just was
a weightlifter guy came in and said he was doing it. Or was that?
Yeah, no, that was after, because I think we speak to a wide variety of people from a wide variety of walks of life and life experiences on the show, and people were calling us. And it was a word we never heard before, and then slowly but surely, callers were calling the show and saying, "Have you guys heard of this Kratom stuff?" And I think just the word is so jarring; it just sticks out. There's something kind of funny about it, and so we started joking about getting ourselves barrels of Kratom,
right?
Which led to somebody saying, a credible documentarian has actually made, a guy who made this well-received, well-regarded documentary about, I think, weightlifting, has now, his next focus is Kratom. You guys talked to the Kratom guy, because you guys are always joking about Kratom.
And he was addicted to heroin before that, correct?
That I don't recall. Is that the case?
That's what I thought, or his brother was, or something?
The documentary I recall is called A Leaf of Faith.
Yeah, Chris Bell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He came.
I know it very well.
Yeah, so he came by, and he brought samples.
Yeah,
because I don't think I don't know if he owned the company or not, but he was pro Kratom, and he had a relationship. And so I remember
we did it, and
popping a whole bunch of it on the spot.
Didn't really feel. I think because I was high all the time, like doing a handful of the little pills was. I didn't really feel it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yeah, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. It wasn't anything that I really enjoyed or hated. It was, I don't remember thinking anything of it. And then I remember Will saying how dangerous it was, and you and I making fun of Will because I'd already done a handful of these pills and I didn't feel anything. And I was like, dude, it's an herbal bullshit.
Right.
Like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm happy if it like helps you skim through your junkie life, but it doesn't do shit to me.
That's what I remember. It's gas station stuff.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So then when I did these shots, I believe from the start I was offered a sponsorship deal. So it was like money, and then if I did a promo code, I would receive some money on every individual bottle that was sold with using my promo code, which didn't add up to much. But it wasn't about that. It was because it was just it was at the wrong time, right time, depending on how it was the wrong time. I didn't drink anymore, so I was looking for something to do to take the edge off, because I wasn't going to meetings. I'm not going to drink anymore. I don't drink anymore. That's it. No AA, no nothing. I remember my wife at the time would ask me, like, is it okay if I have a glass of wine? I'd be like, yeah, of course, because I didn't want to be a party pooper. But was I pissed and jealous and envious? Absolutely. Every time she had a glass of wine, I was like, you should go out with somebody else, because I'm lame forever now, like I'm no longer fun. And then when I did this shot, it kind of loosened me up a little bit. It made drunk people and people that drank around me more tolerable. And then that's right when I got into comedy, so late nights I would do another shot before I'd go on stage, and it was almost like it kind of loosened me up. I started to figure out that I had the little tobacco pouches, and I'm not a cigarette smoker, so I would do 2 of these feel 3s, and that would kick in pretty quick, and then I'd do as the little Zen things, and that would kind of give me a little bit of a buzz, and there would be this feeling of like, not all the time, but sometimes I'd go, oh, it's working. Like it's like a painkiller. Like I'm high. I'm high. And I'm not, as far as I know, doing anything bad. My doctor, I told him about it, and he was like, what is that? And I was like, it's a herbal thing. And he was like, yeah, good for you. He did not know what it was, and he just said, yeah, that's not going to trigger your heart. So I got into them, and I did them. My wife and I did them all the time. And then it got to the point where they weren't sending us boxes of it in time, so we were going to the liquor store and buying them, not by the bottle, by the box.
Always by the case.
Yeah. Save money, right?
Yeah.
We would buy the case, and this is from our local liquor store where he didn't give me a discount, dude. But I went so many times, it was like clockwork. At one point, I went and I started to figure out that there were some off ones where they would explode when you'd open it, and they smelt and tasted 10 times as disgusting as they already do, and they're not very tasty in the beginning. And I should have caught it, but I didn't. Where I'd be like, "Oh no, we got a bad batch," and you got to slam them fast, not throw them away. Slam them fast. I went to Colombia to get stem cells, and we brought 2 cases to survive Colombia. I don't even know if that's legal, but nobody said anything. But
It's not like they have any drugs there.
not those ones. But they were fizzing everywhere, and I would drink them, and I would be immediately nauseous because they were off ones.
Yeah, did you notice that the carbonated ones did not work the same either?
Yeah, wow, that's what they were, because they were fizzy.
Yeah, they had gone rotten. They had, it kind of turned to booze in a way.
Right, it's a natural fermentation.
Yeah.
This is probably a good time to introduce our guest.
Yeah.
Hello, Noah.
Hello.
Joseph Urbina.
That is exactly it.
Well done, Michael.
What prompts a man to decide I'm going to use that middle name?
It's one of those things that as a kid, like having a name Noah Joseph was kind of embarrassing, and then as you grow up, you're like, yeah, that's my name.
Did your parents always call you by both names?
Of course, when they were mad. Just the classic.
Yeah.
No. Just
Isn't that funny?
Just Noah. Just Joseph is my middle name, and at a certain point,
My
of being
baby
an adult,
mama
you
says
just
that
embrace it.
To my daughter. She gets the first and middle name when she was in trouble. Like, I totally remember that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, we know each other accidentally through. What is she to you?
She's my first cousin, but we
Your
didn't
first
find that
cousin.
out until 10, 12 years ago.
That's crazy.
A late in life new cousin edition.
And she's my
Hopefully you
girlfriend.
hadn't been dating at that point.
We had not been dating. We didn't know each other or about each other.
Yeah.
And we found
See,
out
at the court, they make you take some DNA tests.
Yeah.
Lo and behold.
But we did find out that there's her and 2 others. These are first cousins that we never knew about until I was 28, 29 or so. And Catherine's the only one that I've met. But
Oh, wow.
We're
Okay.
finding out that my dad's side of the family is from a very, very, very small town in Ireland, and we're finding out that one of the most common other last names is my mom's maiden name.
yeah. she was out there.
Don't do any more research.
Yeah. It might be a tightly coiled family trait. Anyway, go on.
Sure.
Well, anyway, Catherine showed me video of him talking about Kratom, and I go, yeah, because when I first got off these feel-frees, I tried, and it was really hard, and it's funny. It's just like addiction. Like, I got off, and it was a couple of days of hell, and I slowly got back on it again, secretly, to the people that I already confessed that I was addicted to, and they helped me get off it, and then I secretly started doing them again, like a junkie. And this is like, I already know that this is bad for me. Like, I think that my narcissistic, my face was puffy, and I hated my face.
Do you have some dead eyes? Dead eyes is one of the most common side effects of it.
Like bags? Or what do you mean?
Not even. Like lifeless. Like they almost get kind of sunken, squinty,
did-
and red, but then, like, I look back at pictures of myself when I was deep in it, and I just look awful.
You have a picture of yourself on your Instagram.
Yes.
Oh, I have
It's crazy.
lots of them. Like
Yeah.
I documented my withdrawal process, and for me it was 12 days of acute withdrawals, probably 6 months until I felt human again, but 12 days of you're in a bed, you're not moving, there's no walking, there's no eating, there's no sleeping. Like maybe you would fall asleep for 10 minutes at a time, but no, it was 12 days of severe acute withdrawals comparable to any drug, any amount of alcohol, just absolutely fucking devastated and leveled for 2 weeks straight. That was my, and I documented it, took pictures, took video, talked about what I was going through, if only to look back and remind myself how severe this got, so as to never end up in that same position again. There wasn't forethought like, oh, I'm going to use this in the future to show people how bad it could get. It wasn't that. It was just that I had never felt so awful in my entire life, and much like Jason, drugs were every bit of my life from 18 to 30 and beyond. Like, I have an innocent appearance about me that leads people to believe that I've been, like, in a room eating saltines and listening to church hymns my whole life. But no, it was just all drugs all the time. As soon as I turned 18, that was all I did. And never have I experienced anything like what Kratom, specifically Feel Free, did to me. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah, I've never had a detox where I thought I might need to go to hospital.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Like I've been to rehab, and I guess they like give you stuff at rehab to help you detox.
Yep.
So it's like, give you some Valium of
Yeah, sedatives, yeah.
So maybe that did make it easier, because when I did it, I talked to a friend who was a brain scientist of sorts, and he's like it's not going to be easy, but you can white knuckle it. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you can make it. He's like, you can do it. Not going to be easy. I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy, but I know you can do it. And I was like, all right, I believe you. You know, it was 4 days of like, I couldn't talk, dude. Like I couldn't communicate with the outside world. I couldn't text people because I was just like, I don't have a thought. I just have pain, and shaking, freezing cold and sweating. I rented an Airbnb because I was in the middle of the hell that I went through. I was in the middle of a divorce. We were getting a divorce, but we still lived in the same house. And I was like, I'm getting off this shit. Also, when we got divorced, there was a time there where she was like, that's it, I want a divorce. And I went, okay. And I'm absolutely positive that there was no fight in me because of the Kratom. I was like, it sounds like a good idea to me. Because if I say yes to this, you'll leave me alone. Because I just wanted to be... I have no fight in anything. I have no desire to really do anything. Oh, mate, Jason Ellis Show, talking about Miracle Made. Miracle Made sheets. They're connected with NASA. Like, they're not, like, in space or anything, but same people that got something to do with it. All I know is I sleep on them, and I am a guy that washes his own sheets. I make my own bed. I'm a big boy, ladies and gentlemen, and when I make my big boy bed, I know the difference between where I got Miracle Made on or my regular stock ones. I'm a guy that never could tell the difference. I'm like, I don't care how many counts or whatever it is, or silky, or I like pink ones, I'll tell you that. But when it comes to sleeping comfortably, like, get them out of the washer and dryer, I put them on, and now I know, because they're a little bit cooler of a color, but they are more comfortable, and they are also temperature regulated. So like, I'm either hot or I'm freezing, and with Miracle Made, it seems to sort of subside, and I'm a lot more comfortable. These are just like, I bought them, you know? Like, I did a read a long time ago, and then I was like, wait, these are really good. So then I bought them. And now I'm doing a read again, which means I think I can use my discount code, but I'm not that sharp. So I got 3 sets, and I just rotate them, and I don't want to use other ones because they're that good. I love them. So if you want to be a part of this and get a discount, because you'd probably be smarter than me, you could use this discount, and then you could get them for cheaper. I don't think I seriously feel stupid right now. I think I just bought them. I'm starting to feel really bad. Go to trymiracle.com/Ellis. That's trymiracle.com/Ellis. Try Miracle Made sheets today. Whether you're buying them for yourself or for a gift, yeah, you know what you can do? You can buy them from me. Send them to me. Or yourself, I guess. You can order them today and save 40%. And if you use the promo code Ellis at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels. Okay, now I know I didn't use the code. I didn't get any towels. But you can use the code Ellis, and you get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle Made. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you aren't 100% satisfied, you get your full refund. That's pretty confident. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Ellis and use the code Ellis to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Ellis to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Hey, everybody. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. I am a guy that grew up in the old school world where you're not supposed to get therapy because that makes you weak. And a lot of those people that gave me that advice really, really need therapy. Hopefully they got it. I reached out to and got therapy several times in my life, and I can honestly say if I had not have got that therapy, I would not be here today. I'm very grateful because it is the time, it's the season to be grateful. I'm grateful for Tony Hawk. I'm grateful for my family, my beautiful girlfriend, and my lovely children. And of course, I'm grateful for myself because I'm so awesome.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule, easy. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you want, switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Ellis today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/Ellis.
And I'm still like I have to make apologies to that person for being so cold, because I can't blame that drug. I have to be like, you should have done better, but I didn't, and I didn't care. So,
personal responsibility is as important as any part of this process, but it doesn't mean that you weren't significantly affected by that shit. Because I had the same thing. Everything in my life fell apart. My business, my relationship, friend group, family, all of that. Just you push them all away, feel miserable, and it's just you and your little blue bottle.
Yeah. The only thing I want to talk about is like dark stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just everything's sad.
Yeah, that's where your head's at.
Yeah. You're just in a really. It was really like like heroin. Like I was really like I'd OD'd or something. And there was times there where I used to throw up from doing too much.
Yeah.
And not until way after I quit it, where somebody knew of that and told me, and then hearing them tell me, like I'd just go to the bathroom real quick and come back, and they go, "Did you just throw up?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, so I'm ready to go anyway." And they go, "Wait, what do you mean? Like you used to act like it was no big deal." And I'm like, "Well, when it happens like 15 times a week, it isn't a big deal."
Dude, that's so funny.
I did it in the car. I stopped at a light, opened the door, and was like, man.
Just moving on.
Yeah.
The morning that we went surfing for the show.
Yeah.
He barfed on the way. That's on video.
Right.
Yeah.
As we were walking out to the...
Right, and you know how we went surfing and I didn't surf?
Yeah.
You know why I didn't go surfing?
I didn't think you wanted to embarrass me and Kevin.
No, dude, because I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
If I get my heart rate up, I'm definitely going to vomit. That's the other thing. When you do too much, if you run or you paddle or anything like that, you just start vomiting. Like, I started vomiting because I took too much in the car.
Yeah.
I hadn't worked out at all.
No, I remember that.
You were doing 2 in a rows, back-to-backs of Feel Free?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got to that point for me. It was every 3 hours, 8 to 10 a day, and that went on for about a year.
8 to 10 a day?
Sometimes more. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Noah, why don't you just tell us your story?
All right.
Oh, my God,
All right.
dude. How much do you weigh?
I got down to 130, so I lost 50 pounds.
10 a day?
Dude, all right. Let me just run with this. All right, so I want to give a little bit of backstory leading up to what turned into this Kratom addiction, because for years I took it without any issues whatsoever. Not only that, advocated for its legality when it came under scrutiny from the FDA because of A Leaf of Faith, the Chris Bell documentary, that he was purporting it to be some sort of a miracle sort of a thing. And at the time, I was consuming just a tablespoon here and there. I never exceeded that dose. And it was just like a nice little mood booster. If you just take a spoonful of the ground up leaf powder. I never had any issues with it. I would share it with friends. It did come under, like I said, FDA scrutiny. I advocated for it to be legal, but to look back on it, I had heard my son died from this. Just general internet things. 2016, 2017. Internet was different than it even is now.
Yeah.
That
I think his story at the time, as he put it in the documentary, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there were 2 different opiate plants in like southern Asia, and heroin is one and kratom is the other, and at a certain point the government had said the problem with kratom is that it wasn't sufficiently habit forming, and the money was in actually selling the world, exporting the world heroin. So they destroyed kratom, and the world lost this essentially healthy alternative to heroin in the process.
And it's a lesser of 2 evils, maybe, compared to heroin. But so from 2016 to 2020, I would buy a kilogram off the internet, and it would last me for 6 months, 8 months. easy peasy. Come 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. Everything just got very weird. And between COVID, in the sense that there was now this weird just energy in the culture, we were separate from people, we weren't allowed to do shit, and there was just a lot of frustration and resentment in the culture. For me, being a lifelong addict, but imagining that I was through all that, I was living in Sonoma, California, up north, and I went down to my produce stand where I would just get fruits and vegetables, and they had this little bottle called Feel Free. 2020 is when it came out, and I'm like, oh look, there's a little thing that I could get and not have to mix it myself. It's just a ready to go. And much like the first time I did a lot of drugs, for me it was the very first time I drank it. I'm just like, I do that now. I do that. That's my thing.
Can I ask what sort of issues you'd had with other drugs in the past?
So alcohol was never my thing. The first time I smoked weed, I realized that I could just feel this way forever, and so it was that all the time. It was, opiates, Adderall, amphetamines, certainly meth, like anything I could get my hands on at any given time, given that between 18 and 30 I wasn't making much money. So whatever I could get my hands on, I would, just to not feel sober.
Yeah.
Like to look back on it, it was just like, if I could not feel what it's like to raw dog life, I didn't put that much forethought into it at the time. It was just like, if I could just not feel this, all that, just how it feels to be a person all the time, then that's what I'm going to do. And I did that all of the time.
Yeah, and I think it's a common thread for a lot of addicts.
For sure. And that's what's hard about Kratom generally, is that for it to be categorized by the CEO of it as, sugar and caffeine can also be addictive. And so, it has the potential for addiction, but so do sugar and caffeine. It's a little disingenuous to me, because at no point are people having to go through extreme acute withdrawals from caffeine and sugar and have to go to rehab and all of that.
No. Real quick, just because I think it is valuable. My personal experience is Chris came by and he brought us a bunch of samples, and Jason did it on the show. I did not. I actually was, because there was a couple drugs that were making the rounds at that time. They're like, oh, they're brain drugs. They help you really focus. And I tried a couple and been like, this feels gross. I don't like the way that this feels, but I'll try this one because this guy made a whole documentary about it. He's a credible guy. Yeah. Because especially coming from the weightlifting side of things, he was coming from like a healthier living point of view. Yeah. And I remember I actually cleared a morning. I was going to work on some creative projects, and I took it for the first time. And 20 minutes later, I was like, oh, Vicodin.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. But not, this is not the path to me becoming a highly productive, functional member of society. Yeah. Wow. Legal Vicodin. So for anybody, I mean, everybody's different. I react differently to marijuana than you do. But I think the average person, whether they're selling it or they're just talking to a friend to say, well, caffeine's illegal too, is, I don't know what you're taking. Because my experience when I took it is, this is a drug. A low-level drug, but this isn't like tripping balls. But this is a drug, and I don't see how anybody with a straight face could claim that they believe otherwise. Yeah,
I mean, it's categorized as a wellness tonic, safe alternative to alcohol, a social lubricant, and all of those things that lead people to believe that it is safe, but also I'm in multiple groups now of people that are trying to come off it and all that, and half of the people in there are addicts, and it was just like this next thing to find. The other half of people never drank, never did drugs, never wanted any of that, but do like to go out with their friends, and they ended up as addicted to any junkie, anybody, anywhere, anytime, no history of drug abuse, anything like that. They just wanted to go out and have a nice time with their friends, and it, especially in its early stages, it does work as a social lubricant, and it does work to tolerate your drunken friends a little bit more, and you get out there and you become a chatterbox. And for me, initially, like, I could work 18-hour days as long as I kept a steady stream of that shit in me. But just like any drug, first you use it to get high, then you fall, and then you use it to get well, and then you use it to just not feel awful all of the time. And this is exactly that. So from 2020 to 2021, I was steadily taking it, and within about 6 months started losing weight, not being social anymore, got super pale, just gnarly, looked awful. Then went another 6 months and taking 8 to 10 a day, sometimes more. Had to have one on my nightstand because I would wake up in the middle of the night in complete withdrawals. Had to drink one in the middle of the night just to go back to sleep. Had to drink one the moment that I got up in the morning to not feel like you're going to die. If I didn't have one in the morning, I would go down to the produce stand and I would get there 15 minutes early in hopes that they would open early, because I was just tweaking out in withdrawals. And what sucks about all of this is that I'm no fool when it comes to drugs. Like, I know about them, I've done them, I do my research, I know about things, and something about that gradual process, it wasn't obvious to me what was happening at the time. And I would show up at 5:45 to get it, and I was in a little town, and it was only available there or about a half hour away. And guess who would be there at that time in the morning? A couple other junkies. Like, we're meeting in a back alley to get a fucking bunk heroin deal. And like, if nobody was there, I would buy all that they had. If someone else was there, like, we would get together, be like, do you want to split that? You want to split that case?
Wow.
And they only have one, and we would talk about it, and maybe that other person didn't realize how severely addicted they were to that thing, but it was, to look back, a little bit funny to see some other skinny, tweaked out kind of dude, which, I mean, at the time, like, I was a pillar of my community at the time, so the fucking shame involved in that kind of behavior was atrocious.
Yeah, my ex-wife, her and I, at the time, like, we were in a room we never told each other we were secretly addicted to anything. We were just, hey, we're almost out of feel free.
Yeah.
And then we would get more. And I never looked at her like, wow, like, are you sure you want to do another one? Then she never did the same to me. It was like I think if anything, she'd be like, yeah, Jason has a higher tolerance. I usually do half of one and he smashes two. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I've always had a higher tolerance. Like, no big deal. No one ever pointed out to us that it was like anything bad. It's really I'm not going to do it anymore. Something's up. I don't feel right. And then when I really, like, the second day of not doing it was when I was like, okay, you've got to be joking me. This is like really bad. I am freaking the fuck out. Yeah. Like, the third day, my manager was watching me, and I was in a head to toe, like, sweatpants with a blanket with the house on it, with the heater on, freezing cold and sweating. And I was like, I feel like I'm seizing up. And I was rocking back and forth, and I was like, I've got to turn the jacuzzi on. If I go, my arms are coming in and I'm locking up. If I go into the jacuzzi, it'll like defrost me. I had like some theory, and I was like, I've just got to get to the jacuzzi, and I couldn't get up, and I was like, get up, you know what I mean? Like, do it. And I start to get up, I start to walk, and my legs don't want to move. I get outside, I get to the jacuzzi, and I can't move anymore, and I can't put my hands out. So when I went to crouch down, I just fell over. And I couldn't even put my hands out. I just landed on my side, and I was like 6 feet away from the jacuzzi, and it was like a in-ground one. Yeah. And I was next on the red bricks, and I was just rocking back and forth. And my manager was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." She's like, "You don't look okay." I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm okay." And I'm in a trance because it's been 3 days. I don't want to eat. I think if I just do one, it'll help me. But I know that if I do one, then this feeling is going to be one more day. Mm-hmm. And I just keep thinking like one more day and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be okay. And it got to the point where I started to feel like I was going to have like a seizure. And I couldn't stop shaking. I was like, really stop shaking. And I couldn't stop it. So I hit my own head. I'll never forget it. I hit my own head on the concrete to stun myself.
Intentionally.
Yeah, because I thought that if I stunned myself, it would kind of stop the seizure from happening. And I was right. I hit my head and I kind of like fuzzed myself out, and that's when my manager was like, "Jason, like, like, what are you doing?" And I was like, I don't know if I even said anything. I was just like, I'm helping myself. And it rocked me enough to be like a little bit dazed. Yeah. And I crawled into the jacuzzi with my sweatpants on and my hoodie and got in and was like holding onto the ledge. And it was, like 104. And I was freezing with a hoodie on in it. And then it started to thaw me out enough to roll a joint. Then I rolled a joint, smoked the joint. The joint took the edge off enough to like just rock back and forth. Yeah. That was the worst part of it all. And then 2 days later, then I quit weed because I was like, what I just did, weed is nothing. Yeah. And then I was right. I love weed. Detoxing from weed is hell to me. But me wanting weed like 6 days of no kratom, I didn't care about weed. Like the weed was obsolete. I was just like, and then I went to meetings, and I was telling you before the show started, 36 days, because the 35th day I was in a meeting and I was doing this, and then I was like, wait, why am I doing this? It's been 36 days. I feel sick. I feel like my theory was maybe I have a staph infection, like a blood infection, because I feel sick inside. And that's what I was telling you. I was like, maybe I have an STD, but I'd recently decided not to sleep with anybody as well because I'm trying to be sober and trying not to do things. And I was like, well, how could you have got an STD if you haven't had sex for a fucking, I don't know how long enough to this? There's no way that's it. But I couldn't figure it out. I was like, you know what? It's worth it, my peace of mind. I got a test. I went and got blood work, and then they came back and said, yeah, you don't have nothing. And that's when I was like, okay, it really is 35 days of I am detoxing from this herbal fucking drink. And it was so embarrassing because I'm older. I've got kids. Like, smoking weed is less embarrassing to me. I'm like, yeah, man, like, you did it your whole life, like, you know, and you worked and you skated and you did stuff.
And plenty of people do it.
Right, but you don't do heroin, dude. Like, you're not addicted to, I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but like, you know, man, I can't do hard drugs with children. Like, I quit when my daughter was born. I don't, but I was back in worse than ever.
Let me ask you both two questions, because it seems like you have similar experiences in these two regards.
Yeah.
I accept that both of you were doing it over and over on a daily basis, days on end, and all of the warning signs were there for both of you. And yet somehow you were, for a time, blind to what an issue you had. I'd like to ask both of you, from somebody who has not been in that situation, how do you think you could have remained blind? It seems very odd. Like, to me, I was watching you at the time, we'd be getting ready to do a show and you'd be taking one, and I'm just like, okay, I wouldn't do that. Like, this is work time. This is not take anything. This is have a cup of coffee time. Not that I thought you were going to end up, you know, having seizures or anything like that. But how do you not see that you're developing a dependency when you're pretty clearly developing a dependency? And then, well, my second question is just why do you think both of you opted to white knuckle cold turkey as opposed to trying to taper off?
Is that what you did too?
White knuckled it, yeah.
Yeah.
With no idea how bad it was going to get.
Yeah, okay, that's, if I had known it was going to get that bad, I would have gone to rehab.
Yeah. Well, because I remember hearing, like, anecdotally,
Right?
there's an actor, Bruce Dern, people, you may or may not remember who he is.
Of course.
He, when he was like in his 70s or something, he's very, very old, said he developed an addiction to pain pills. This typical thing, got prescribed some and got addicted to them. And he's like, I was like Rush Limbaugh, I was like taking 50 a day. And he's like, and then one day I took 49 and a half, and the next day I took 40, you know, and I just went a half a pill down until the last day I took a half, and that's the last time I took one. And obviously, if it was that simple, we wouldn't need rehab, and we wouldn't have junkies. But I wonder why you didn't choose to do that.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
All right, so to start it all common drugs of abuse at this point in our culture, everybody knows what's to expect if you start taking too many pills, too many opiates, too much heroin, too much cocaine, too much alcohol. There's a common known cultural understanding of, if you do this, we all know the end result of this. This is so new. Kratom is so new that not only is it not understood, but as Jason experienced, that like talking about it on the internet, I mean, people will just rip you to shreds. And I see it for two reasons. A, they don't know. B, they're hooked and they don't want somebody talking about the thing that might get some sort of regulation, which means they won't be able to get their drug. And so, given that it came in under the banner of being less of a concern, an herbal supplement for the drink, a wellness tonic, even if you can drink it and notice that something more severe is happening, whether it's the junkie mindset or not, there is a part of you that doesn't think that what's happening is that bad. And then it's a frog in boiling water situation where you go from having one a day, or my initial one was 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and you're good.
Yeah,
but
like a coffee.
Yeah, just the body adapts to anything. So to go from 2 to 3 doesn't seem like that big a deal. To go from 3 to 4 doesn't seem like that big a deal. And there are things that your body does on a subconscious level that some of these are not conscious decisions made a lot of the time, that as the stuff leaves your body and the discomfort starts to set in, and you know to remedy that, all you have to do is spend another $10 on a thing, and it's just, it's just a herbal remedy down at the store that it just happens so gradually that one day you end up in a position. And for me, it was the very first time that I took it to go to sleep. That's when you know you're in the upside down. So to take it in the morning, get you kind of zazzed up for the day, take it in the afternoon for that afternoon lull, then I get it. And in the evening, sure. But the first time I had one at 11 o'clock at night, because I knew that I wasn't going to sleep unless I got this feeling out of my body, at that point I'm like, I think I'm in a real bad place. And guess what? Just kept on going. And
how long would you say it was from then until you actually...
It probably took 6 or 7 months to end up at the point where I had to take it to go to sleep, and it went on another year after that.
I see.
More, worse feelings. I probably spent about $60,000-$70,000 on them. Because 10 a day, let's say it's $100 a day, 3,000.
Wow.
No, it was more than that. They were actually closer to 12 early on in the time. So let's say $3,600 a month, 40,000+.
You didn't want to get a promo code?
Yeah, you should have used mine. I would have been rich.
Yeah.
I remember doing 4 a day and talking to somebody about it, and he was like, I do 6.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel good about 4 a day. I could already tell that was not healthy. But when he said he did 6, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm just being a bitch.
Yeah. Well, that's everybody. Like if you're down at the local bar where everybody's like, could be defined as an alcoholic, as long as one guy's falling down and barfing on himself, then we're not that bad.
Here's the thing, like I feel like some people, it's like if we were here talking about how everybody should not drink, it's poison. I mean, there is facts to that, but some people like a drink on the weekend and get at a wedding or whatever it is, and they work and they do their jobs, and they're great people, and there's no harm, no foul. Can there be a way of doing Kratom in a way where it could be, like, I don't know about beneficial, but like not ruin your life? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I wanted us to make sure we talked about that too, to give somewhat of a reasonable acknowledgement that some people don't have problems with it.
Right. I feel.
Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, and I think you have to say that because you lose credibility when you tell people, no, if you do this, it's going to kill you, and and then there's people going, well, that's not my experience.
Yeah.
Well, then everything else that you're saying loses its credibility.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
But it's also, there's like people that are. I got off painkillers and I use Kratom, and that's helping me. So fuck you, because that was the thing when I talked about it on social media. People came at me with that one, and I was like, look, I get it. It's also people that have gone off heroin that are on methadone. I mean, dude, if I do methadone right now, I would be off my tits. You know what I mean? It's a drug, dude. Like, and I get it. Like, you're not doing heroin anymore, but you are doing a drug. And my thing is, like, the more I get sober, there was a time there where I smoked weed every day, and I would skate, and there would be people that would be around me that would go, dude, I don't know how you can skate. I don't know how you can fight. I don't know how you can do a podcast. I don't know how you have the energy to go anywhere after smoking that joint. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just different. And then I quit and was older and more honest with who I really am, but I had to go through all these things. I had to, I worked on my sobriety. I did like steps and had a sponsor and was very, like, I stripped myself down and was very honest with what I really am. Like how, because also if I tell myself, like, would I be a better parent if I didn't smoke weed? Well, then I won't be able to smoke any weed. So I'm not going to tell myself that. And I could argue, I was pretty good at it, where I could convince you I'm actually more playful. You know what I mean? I'm funny when I'm high. And I was like, yeah, I've got myself convinced of that.
And occasionally it's probably true.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not.
Look, man, that's the other thing. Like, once again, marijuana, it doesn't matter which one it is. If you smoke marijuana every now and then, and you're a funny, fun-loving guy, and you go to bed and you wake up and it's no harm, no foul, you don't need to roll one when you wake up, I'm envious of that. But I, and also a lot of other American, Canadian people, humans, when they start doing stuff, they can't turn it off. And the fact is, if I'm high all the time, I am not as good a husband. I'm not as good at anything to anybody, to myself, to my pets, everybody, everything. I know that. No one can ever argue otherwise. Kratom is 10 times gnarlier than weed. 10 times. And I got knocked out skating a bunch of times because I had to do a shot to skate. And I'm in my 50s and I'm like, I'll just do one feel free before I skate because I don't want to get too woozy. And now, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, and then sometimes I got hurt and I was like, I wonder if I'm like, nah. Like when I did that 540, I only did one that morning. And I remember because I only did one, it was a bit tough all day. I did one and smoked a joint and then broke a sweat. And then I did that trick. I did a trick that there's no way I shouldn't have done it. Yeah. But I did it. And there's my argument. For the junkie, Jason, I go, well, dude, if you're the oldest person to ever do a backside 540, how bad can Kratom and weed be? Because show me another guy who's in his 50s that can do that. Yeah. And I'm like, well, let's strip that down and let's cut out. Let's get completely detoxed, get sober, Jason, go back in the time machine to that day. I guarantee you I would have made it an hour before I made it. And also, I got hurt. Like, I slammed 3 times before I made it. I bet you I wouldn't have slammed. I mean, maybe not. But also, I just feel like now that I skate sober, this is the easiest. This was the biggest one for me because skateboarding is a way of reading life. When I skate, I don't look where I'm going. I look at everything. And when I'm high, this is my peripherals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I showed up at the ramp completely sober, I saw that, and I also could feel that my back foot was slowly slipping off the grip tape. And I remember going, did you just register that your foot was slowly slipping off the back of the board? Because old high Jason is like, I'm pretty sure I'll make it. And sometimes I would make it, and sometimes I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so you can see more, you can feel more, you are better at skateboarding when you're not high. So how does that not apply to every other thing that you do in your life? That's just the facts.
Well, there's something about being a talented human that no matter what you do to get yourself fucked up, you still read as a talented human, but you don't realize what you're missing by being fucked up all the time.
Right.
When you do things better than other people, and I can relate with that significantly because for my entire addiction through my whole life, never was I not functional. Never did I not hold a full-time job. I've had my own business for a decade. I work with dogs. We can talk about that if needs be. But like people wouldn't have assumed that. To look back on it, I find it insane that they didn't realize how kind of gross I had become and what I looked like and how pale and skinny I had gotten. But any good junkie is also good at lying and pretending that something else is going on. And yeah, it is... I was always able to function and get my shit done, but to the degree that I could have, probably not.
So once you came out of the withdrawal, let's talk about where your life has gone from then to now.
Well, I would like to do that, but I want to talk about what withdrawals were like, because it's something that I've been talking about for a long time, and I think it's really important that people know about it. And so leading up to going through white-knuckling withdrawals with nothing to help, which... I went on a 2-week-long vacation. My ex and I had decided, let's go on a 2-week vacation. She knew what was going on, and we went down to Utah for 2 weeks. And she knew what was going on. I didn't know how severe it was going to be, and I told her, I'm like, listen, probably going to be a few rough days. Probably the first few days. We're not going to be doing much hiking. It was in Kanab, Utah, and just a beautiful, beautiful place. I had weaned and tapered leading up to then, like, looking like that meme of Charlie from Sunny in Philadelphia down in the mailroom with the fucking red strings going. I had been scrawling my tapering schedule on my mirror every day just to try to wean down to make going cold turkey tolerable. And so the first day we were there, I tried to go on a hike. I intentionally left all remaining, I was using Feel Free and then MIT 45, which is also an extreme kratom concentrate to kind of, I could use it in a plastic syringe just to be fully aware how much I'm taking into a dropper, not a needle, just to know what I was doing or how much I was taking into my body. But I left it in the car, walked 3 hours away from the car, and 3 hours was about how long it took for me to enter withdrawals, and now I'm 3 hours away from the car, absolutely fucked. Going into withdrawals, can't fucking walk, can't speak, can't do anything, and now I have to walk miles back to the car, and that took... I honestly didn't think I was even going to survive that. And so made it back to the car, went to where we were going, and rather than 3 days, like I imagine it would be, was every single day of that 2-week-long vacation, where no sleep whatsoever, and maybe there were like 10-15 minutes here and there where I would fall asleep a little bit, but there is a symptom, and I'd be interested in your take on this, called akathisia, which is common with benzodiazepine withdrawal, which is like having restless leg syndrome, where your foot being asleep, the pins and needles through your entire body. Yeah. And so that would only manifest if I laid horizontally. So if I stayed upright, that particular symptom would not manifest. But as soon as I laid down, try to relax, try to take some strain off the body, maybe 5 minutes in, your foot starts doing that. It creeps up the foot, the leg, it goes to the other one. It got to the point where I was horse kicking in my bed, completely outside of my control, so hard that I really thought I was going to break my back from involuntary spasming. And that particular symptom went on for 4 or 5 days, where any horizontal laying was the most miserable, like any severe junkie type withdrawal. Like I felt like my insides were trying to get onto the outside, couldn't think, head bobbing back and forth, couldn't eat, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything. And by day 9, which happened to be my 39th birthday, I was with somebody that cares for me, that I care for, and she loves to hike. And so each day she wanted to be with me to help me through this process. But my take was like, yeah, that's kind of you to want to do that. You got to get out of this house. It doesn't make anything better for you to be here, although I appreciate it. I think it's going to be hard on you to continuously watch someone you care about in this state. And she didn't do it to the degree that I felt she ought to have. And on day 9, which happened to be, again, my 39th birthday, I found a way that I could lean into a corner with my yoga mat on the ground and like feel like I could get a little bit of rest at a 45. And at 6 a.m, she came out of her room, and I was leaning up against the wall, and the mat slipped out from under me, and I fucking crumpled to the ground. And for her, she's like, "That's it. That's it. I can't watch you do this. I cannot keep, like, you have to go to a hospital. You have to do something about this. This is not going to be okay." And I pulled her aside, and I'm like, "Listen, I drove down here. If you want to leave, I can get you a flight back. I feel that this..." Whether it's self-deprecating or not, I feel I earned this experience, and as mortifying and horrible as it was, there was something real fucking spiritual about it. I refer to it like coming face to face with the devil's dick and not losing. I don't know that I won, but maybe we had a stalemate. But to be in that, to be suffering that much for that long in a row, I wanted to earn my way through it. And so we talked about it. I stuck around. I got a vitamin drip from somebody close by. And then on day 11, I got 1,000 might have been 750 milligrams of NAD, if you guys are familiar with it. That changed everything. And so on that 11th day, I found a gal 100 yards from the house who does in-home NAD therapy. And I don't know if it would have worked so well on day 1. I think I needed to get some of this stuff out of the body for it to really start recovering. But on day 11, I took NAD, and how I looked before and after that 2-hour-long IV push was different. And so that night, I slept for about 2 hours. The next night, I probably got 6 hours, and the road to recovery happened. It started from there. It was probably 6 months until I felt like a regular human again. But like, on that stuff, I mean, you get styes in your eyes, liver issues, heart issues, kidney issues, your skin starts fucking sloughing off of your body, it turns gray, and like people I have an entire list of symptoms I would like to read at some point, which are common throughout all of this. But yeah, it took me a full 2 weeks of not just withdrawals, but severe and acute, where you can't do anything, you're just a waste of space, and all I could do was just lie there, stand there, rock back and forth, tremble. I did make a couple videos that are available to be seen, whether on my Instagram or YouTube, and I encourage people.
What's your YouTube?
I mean, it's just there's maybe like 3 videos up there. They're on my Instagram, and that's Urbeezy, URBEEZY. That people, because I put the entire 10 or 12 minute videos up there, but also made some short ones that are a little bit more concise about it. And then since then, once you go through something like that, it almost shifts your destiny in life outside of your own choosing, where if I went through that and I now know enough about it and want to know about it, it became, in my opinion, my responsibility to talk about it as openly as possible, and then if I can get out in the world and talk to people, and whether it's help anybody through it, remind them how severe this is, offer them some words of comfort while they're going through that experience, like, it shifted what my role in life was. Like, I work with dogs, I'll probably always do that. I do sports things always, but like this now shifted into, well, getting sober, even though I use the term non-reliant, I feel like just the word sober has a lot of baggage with it, but that, like, it became now a part of my life to talk about it and see if there's anybody that I can help through this process. Because something you brought up, Jason, it is so fucking shameful and embarrassing, addiction generally, but this stuff in particular has a different sort of feeling that comes with it because it masquerades as a fucking wellness tonic, and people are so embarrassed to say that they got addicted to gas station heroin.
Right, there's a certain kind of glamour that comes from saying I was addicted to heroin
Any
or
of
addicted
it,
to coke.
Yeah, well, there's a huge thing where
culturally
people don't
known.
argue that you weren't addicted to it.
Right.
Like with Kratom, people go, "No, you weren't.
Yeah.
It's fine." I'm like, I didn't. Why would I make it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
I'm
nothing to
telling you, it
gain.
was
I have nothing to gain from it. I have nothing to prove
Right.
with it. This
It
is
was
just
really,
how it is.
really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where is it at now in terms of regulation and
Nothing's changed
the
yet.
FDA looking at it?
So yes and no. Lots of counties, so individual counties across. I think there are some states where it is illegal, and counties can make those kinds of decisions too. So even like down in San Diego, down in La Jolla area, it's not allowed to be there. But it's so unknown right now that those who know, they know. But it's going to be less than 1% of people that are even aware of what's possible, that this is a thing. How every single day I see a new concentrated product. They have it in vapes. They have it in tongue strips. They have it in like mints. Like you can fucking smoke Kratom now through a vape. And like, and I tell people this all the time. It's going to get vastly worse. In this culture before it gets better.
Because if you make it more concentrated, it's going to get people more addicted.
That's what changed it for me, that I was fine with occasional dosing of the leaf. These concentrates are 100, 200 times more potent. Really hard to understand how severe that is, because those are just kind of numbers. But like any addiction, you have a tendency to take more and more. And even for the people that used it for damage control or a way to come off of other worse substances in their mind, if you take a certain amount over a certain amount of time, there is no way around the fact that your body will not be okay when you decide to stop. And were you going to kill yourself from drinking? Maybe. And are you alive because of taking this? Yes, maybe. But when you stop doing this, if your potency or consistency has been high and long, you are going to have a miserable experience. And lots of people have died. It is no longer a reasonable argument to say people have that there was a lot of polydrug issues where if someone died and had mitragynine is the active ingredient in Kratom, that if they had other drugs in their system, they're like, oh, well, it was probably the other things.
Well, and in some instances, it probably was. If somebody was doing a bunch of coke and drinking a whole bunch and had a shot of Kratom, the Kratom
it's not going to be great with all of that in there.
But that's not the thing that killed them.
Many people have died with only that in their system.
Right.
And again, I don't want to sound like I'm sounding an alarm that's like over the top and unnecessary. And like we talked about, people have used it for damage control and people have used it without issues. And I'm readily willing to admit that it doesn't change that people are getting fucked to bits from this. And like I said, these groups that I'm in, one of them is they're going to do everything they can to get it banned. I don't feel that way. I feel that people should have the freedom and opportunity to put something into their body that changes their state.
Do you feel the same way about heroin?
I do.
Okay, all right.
I feel that people should have, like, if
so you think drugs should be legal? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I it's probably a little more nuanced than that, like regulated so people know what they're getting into. I don't feel people should be denied the opportunity to alter their state as a human being. That's just my personal opinion on it. And so I don't think that's the way. But I am in one group where that's all they want every day is to get it banned. And why? because their fucking kid died. Because their kid died and that's all they ever did. And so is there, I don't agree with their opinion, but is it valid? You fucking better believe it's valid. That if someone that they love took a thing that they didn't know what could happen to them, drank it until they died, and leading up to that they turned into a monster, I understand where they're coming from. And so if we had some amount of regulation or at least cultural understanding of what could happen when you consume this, I mean, that's all I want people to know.
Dude, my biggest thing, that's why I had you on, is happy for whatever you want to do in your life, whatever you want to take. If you want to piss your life away, I don't care. Do whatever you fucking want. I'm trying to give you advice. I'm just trying to help. I'm just coming from a sincere place. I just want to help. When I see people, I don't believe Joe Rogan means it. I think maybe he got paid, or maybe they gave him a shot and he didn't know, like I didn't know, where him and some other guy are on the podcast talking about, instead of having a couple beers, have a feel free. It makes you a great conversationalist. And I was like, whoa, dude. Like, man, I didn't hear the whole podcast, but did you get into the ins and outs of that? Because that's not exactly true. That's bad advice. Like, but I also don't think that this malicious. I think it's like, they had one and was like, hey, I feel pretty mellow right now. And I'm like, maybe you didn't do research. I know I was on the Jason Ellis Show going, hey man, feel free. I know I did Instagram videos where I was like, this is freaking awesome. I was taking it before I would train and after. But then it got to a point where it was really, really bad. And then when I talked about it, when I was in meetings and someone was like, my husband passed away from it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Kratom. And they were like, yeah, no, I heard you. My husband is gone. And I'm like, wait, what? And I didn't know. And then another person was like, dude, I went on Suboxone to get off. And I was like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden, this, from me telling people, being honest about my struggle with it, all these other people telling me these stories that were way worse than mine, I had no idea. I really didn't.
Well, there's something... there's more to not knowing about Kratom culturally that's happening right now, is that when people end up in that position where they have to go to rehab for it, doctors, nurses, a very small percentage of them know how to deal with it. There is not a standard protocol for how to get to take somebody through with their withdrawal experience. And another thing I've made a long list of is all the things that I've talked about people using to get through their withdrawals. But even people whose job it is to get people through withdrawals or get them through a detox, they don't know how to treat it. And primarily it's being treated like opiate withdrawals. Suboxone, naltrexone, a bunch, like even just sedatives, benzodiazepines can help. Then you're flirting with a potential other addiction, but it is not entirely known, because it's too new of a cultural addiction, how to deal with somebody in that state. And some of the people in the groups I'm in have said that they're addicted to other things just so they could get a different treatment plan, because they were laughed at when they said, I mean, maybe not literally, but not taken seriously, to say that they got addicted to Kratom. And so that's a bad part of it too, to not know how to deal with somebody who's going through a very severe experience because there isn't a protocol for it. That's rough.
I don't know if I think it ought to be banned or not. And because of that, I feel like the FDA is likely to just use blunt instruments here. They're either going to go, it's fine, or completely ban it. I think the answer might be more like regulating it like a weed, like an alcohol. But short of that, where we are now, you two are full-grown adults. I have a almost 13-year-old son. And I know that insanely stupid things we used to do, get in cars, people were drinking whatever, to drive to the worst imaginable neighborhoods to buy a nickel bag of weed. If we could have gotten shots of Kratom at our 7-Eleven, everybody, and nobody would have been like, because it took me a long time with drinking and drugs and stuff to go, when you do it this much, it kind of works for you. When you do it, that's when it becomes, and it was, I had to learn the lesson a lot of times of that's too far for you. And even still, sometimes as a grown up, I fuck up a little bit. If I'm 13 and I just have easy access to that stuff, and frankly, even if they make it illegal in San Diego, if I'm a kid in San Diego, I could probably figure out how to get some. You're asking,
you don't think a kid's gonna have, I was saying the vape Kratom.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
dude, kids vape. They don't know any different.
I don't even know
and
what
it's
to
like
think
back
about that.
when we were kids. Like, if you do heroin, you don't care anymore.
Right.
You know, like I remember even when I did coke for the first time, I kind of didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
I'd lost it a little bit.
Well, and there
doing
was-
a vape pen,
yeah.
it's like, man, what's a big deal?
Casual.
And next thing you know, your life is ruined.
Right. We, at least for us, those things were illegal, which made them somewhat hard to get, but also there was the vast cultural taboo.
Yeah.
You know, the handful of times
Yeah.
I dabbled in very hard drugs, I was like, I'm a desperado right now. This is bad things can happen when you do. Of course, I was oblivious enough that I was like, well, probably won't be me. But if it's literally not just at your local gas station, it's at your local health food store.
Well, I tell you, it's different in California than in Austin, because I moved here from Austin, Texas. I was up there for 2.5 years, and I want to touch on the Joe Rogan thing too. But in Austin, I have never seen anything like how omnipresent it is there. It is everywhere, all of the time, and I've never been in a store that I saw it in where someone wasn't buying it. Say what you want about the company's strategy for getting it into the culture. They're really good at marketing with, like, whether you get one for free or buy one, get one for $1. It is fucking drug dealer behavior that they're using to get people to consume it, because I mean, there's few other ways that a company could grow as fast as they did with a product like that without being very quickly addictive. But in Austin, it is just everywhere. I have not found it to be the case out here, and big part because Austin is just a hub for whether it's novelty or ambition or newness, but also many of the investors are out there, and that's what I wanted to talk about, getting into the Joe Rogan sphere or circle. Ron White, and I think he's a wonderful comic, seems like a great dude, is...
He's sober, right? He had to quit drinking.
but he's drinking those and
Right.
bringing them everywhere he goes. I have seen Duncan Trussell drinking them, Ron White, like the episode with Reggie Watts and Joe Rogan started with, that's the very first thing you see, them cheersing a feel free, and going through what I went through and seeing it enter a sphere of some of my most favorite people in the world. That just broke my fucking heart.
Yeah,
but do
Reggie
you
seems
think
like
that-
he'd be too smart for that.
Yeah, but addiction's a real bitch,
I was,
man.
dude, you know what I mean? Like, I had 5 friends recommend it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember, like, Luke Rockhold was drinking it.
Yeah.
And I was like, have you seen Luke Rockhold with no shirt on?
Right.
He's as fit as they come.
He had the belt and strike force.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love MMA,
Yeah.
Michael. But, like, how can he still operate
Yeah.
and be on that? So I also feel like a lot of these guys, they're not, this is not malicious. I'm not attacking them. Like, I feel Ron White, as a guy that I follow, I didn't know that, but, like, he is an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. And when I had to quit drinking, I believe that he quit drinking because of his health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he found this thing where it's like, this takes the edge off, man. And I was very happy that I found this thing that took the edge off, because I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows. I really believe that.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think that like I said on social media, like, hey man, this shit ain't that cool. And the people that were coming at me, I was like, why are you coming at me aggressively? I'm not saying like, hey, all the Kratom people in the world are dumbasses. I'm saying, hey guys, watch out. I just got off it, and it was wow.
Yeah.
It was really hard to get off.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like it's like pretty heavy. I wonder if everybody knows about it. And I'm not saying everyone get off it. If you take it right now, you're a dickhead. I'm just saying, hey, everybody, watch out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
pretty
unfortunately,
gnarly.
I think we've all allowed ourselves to be conditioned to a world, and largely a social media world, where as soon as somebody has an opinion, it's like, well, obviously let's split into 2 camps and call each other fucking morons.
yeah.
Like, there are other ways of discussing nuanced issues than that.
For sure. But for me, it's been years since I went through that, and it took me about 6 months to come to terms with that. I don't care what someone has to say about my experience. Like, it doesn't change what happened, and all I'm trying to do is share truth and information, and if that makes you say fuck me to that, that's fine. It's insanity. It has nothing to do with me. Did yours start in 2020, and I have a specific reason? Did you start drinking them in 2020? Mm-hmm. So do you remember that they initially had silver caps and that they switched to black
caps? Yeah.
All right, so that's something we talk about in the groups that I'm in, that
What does that mean?
it was so fucking potent. Like, during the trend,
Which one?
When
The black cap or
the
the
initial one. So when they
Okay.
started to get carbonated and kind of go rotten, was they, I don't know if you noticed this, but I was early in 2020, right when it came out that I was drinking them. Almost every batch, there was variability. They didn't have a system to it yet.
Yeah.
And some were so potent, Like, I could drink a bottle and fucking pass out like a junkie on a bed and would have just been pleased to do that.
Wow.
And then as they started to get carbonated was also when they started fucking with the formula a little bit, and then when they switched to black caps, that there was such a reduction in potency that the first one that I drank during that time, I was so mad about it. And that should also have been an idea of where my head was at during
It's like
that.
when they fuck with Four Loko.
Any of it. That you go to get a bag from your person and you do the thing and you're like, that didn't get me what I fucking wanted.
Somebody stepped on this.
Yeah, dude, somebody's cutting this with who knows what. And so it's a distinction in the timeline of the company that if you were on it during the silver cap days, you're in a slightly more secret club than the other people. Not to say it's not potent now and severe, because it is. It seems to be about 5 days of pretty severe withdrawals for even high quantity dosing. But those silver caps were something very, very different, and it was a very noticeable transition when they went to this other thing where they started adding like pineapple juice. It would rot and ferment sometimes, and in this time they've been sued a number of times, had to change the labeling on the bottle, actually put that kratom is in it, because it was just like a kava drink or secret herbs and spices, whatever language they were using. They were intentionally not using the word kratom, and for that reason they came under a lot of scrutiny. Have to be 18 or 21 in a lot of places to get it, and so they have received a lot of heat for their behavior. But I've been saying this for years, that not until a famous person, a wealthy person, the child of either one of those has a severe troublesome reaction to it, are we going to see an acceleration in the understanding of this. And in the meantime, doing things like this, bit by bit, drop by drop, is the only way that I can see. Like, I've talked through dozens of people through their withdrawals just through my Instagram posts, way more than that in this group. Not a day goes by where a new person doesn't enter this WhatsApp group that I'm in, called the Feel Free Sobriety group. It's delightful. WhatsApp. That every single day someone comes in and they are absolutely fucked. Their family is ruined. Their health is done. They're drinking as many as 18 a day.
Dude.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking about how, you were able to go to Utah for 2 weeks, and like, not everybody, how many people are out there who know that they need to do this, are prepared to the extent that anybody can be prepared to tackle this and handle this.
Yeah, I got an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like, who has money for an Airbnb?
Right.
You're spot on.
Combination of you don't want to admit to your family what this is going to look like. You have kids, or I can't get off work for a week or two.
Yeah. If my kids had a scene the first 4 days, they probably would never look at me the same again.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. We talk about that all the time, that most people live their lives in such a way where you cannot miss a day of work. So imagining going to 30-day inpatient rehab, that's part of the pressure and the trouble of people trying to come off of this, because for a lot of people, their spouse doesn't know, their family doesn't know, or like you had mentioned you did, they already told them that this was happening, then they quit, and then they secretly got back on it. And I had a relapse at my two-year soberversary from it. I was out in Austin, and everywhere I went, it was there all the time. I never was interested. It didn't tempt me. All I would do is, like, if I saw someone buying it, I wouldn't finger wag and tell them not to do it. I would say, hey, just so you know, this was my experience. Move forward accordingly. Do as you wish. But I was doing that for years. Around the 2-year soberversary, I was having a rough week. Maybe hadn't been going to the gym as much as I'm used to, so just feeling kind of not so great. But then that 2-year soberversary comes around, and I'm like, I think I've earned one.
Right.
I think it's about that time. I think you could have just one. Everyone likes a nice little mood boost. I deserve it. And did that, and I had to buy it from the cashier who knew my entire story, tried to get it removed from the store, and the fucking embarrassment of going to that person and be like, hey, buddy, you know that poison that we've been talking about for years? Send it over.
Wow.
Yeah, and he picked it up and he's like, I don't want to sell it to you. I'm like, dude, they're sell it across the street. So I appreciate that comes from a kind place. I'm buying it. If you don't want to give it to me, I'll go over there, but I'm getting it. Let's have it. Just like pushy junkie behavior, and then this sad kid sliding it across the thing, and then me taking it, and I'm like, yep, I do that now again. And got back to 3 or 4 a day for a month, and then that's when the WhatsApp group found me. Someone reached out to me to say they saw my Instagram video, they saw my YouTube video. We have a WhatsApp group. There was 80 people in it at the time, and they said, you're like a hero in here. Everyone knows your story and that you're, on the other side, and people like to know that that's possible. And I'm like, well, guess what? I'll come in, but I'm right back fucking in it. And that was a nice reminder for me to come in and to be received gracefully and kindly, and because of how rare the addiction to this stuff is, to not be judged, for everyone in there to know exactly what you're going through, and that helps, that you have a place virtually, even digitally. In person, I would say, is better, but to have something, a place like that where you can go to, where you don't have to explain yourself, no one thinks you're an asshole for this happening. Regularly, people will disappear from the group for a month, come back and be like, yeah, I went back to it.
It's the same as every other.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. And people need to know that it is the same as every other. All of this behavior is just addict behavior. Yeah. But to say, like boss man of the company does, that sugar and coffee also do that, it's disingenuous. Yeah. And there are degrees to this, and that coming off of Feel Freeze, but Kratom, that you're going to be absolutely wrecked if you were at a high potency for a while, high concentration. People need to know that that's a possibility. It's not like sugar and it's not like coffee. It will absolutely wreck you.
Well, look, there are people who quit smoking cigarettes cold turkey. And you may be that person, but look me in the eye and tell me that you think it's that easy for everybody. So it doesn't matter one person's experience, even if they own a company and they have some personal experience or personal conviction, there's so much evidence to the contrary that if you don't have this issue, many other people can and will continue to. So what about resources? You mentioned the WhatsApp group, but I know you've done podcasts, you've been a part of YouTube videos for people who want to know more about this.
So
I saw you did just the flat out Kratom Sobriety podcast.
Yeah, Kratom. So there's the WhatsApp group that I'm in, that if anybody feels like this resonates with them, it's called the Feel Free Sobriety group. I'm an admin in there, and you do have to be let in. There's the Reddit thread called Quitting Feel Free, a Reddit thread called Quitting Kratom. On Facebook, Kratom Danger Awareness is one. Also Quitting Kratom Support, and then the Kratom Sobriety podcast is just people telling their story. And so those are all potential resources, but I found that the WhatsApp group, it's about 250 members deep at this point, and it's way more intimate than I thought a virtual or digital group could be. There's something about, whether it's maintaining a smaller number, that everyone is very connected in there and very supportive, and we might just like talk about life all day long, and then as soon as someone comes in and mentions that they're in a tough spot, everything switches to how can we offer some version of support, understanding, kindness, let them know all the things that we have used to help get through this situation. And so that's been probably the most helpful for me, to feel like you're a part of this group of people that get it.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, dude. Thanks for trying to help people.
Can I read something else real quick?
Please.
All right. So this, I have made two separate lists. One is the things people have used to ease the withdrawal experience, and the other one is the symptoms of withdrawal and overuse. And it's just a brief list, but I would like people to understand the severity of what withdrawal and overuse looks like. So just as a reminder that it's not coffee and it's not sugar. So feel free withdrawal overuse symptoms: severe pain, disconnection, hopelessness, crippling anxiety, akathisia, we talked about what that is, restless legs, arms, sleeplessness, isolation, weight loss, weight gain, severe motivation loss, headaches, disorientation, yawning, sneezing, and watering eyes are common in withdrawals, flaky, dry skin, hair loss, blurred vision, liver, kidney damage, gut problems, seizures, intestinal blockage, weakness, sores on the skin, skin rashes, skin bumps, dyes in the eyes, sunken dead eyes, poor temperature regulation, constipation, diarrhea, endocrine, hormone system disruption, psychosis, memory loss, death. Those are things that are commonplace in this addiction all of the time for people. And you know, I don't want to sound overly alarmist. I just want to share what people are going through. All right. And so the things that people have used to help with their withdrawal experience, and this does include...
This is going to annoy me.
I'm interested.
'Cause I didn't do any of them.
Neither did I, and so I get it. And at my home, before I went to Utah, I had just a fucking apothecary of potential things that could help. But
I'm actually happy I didn't, because it was so hard that I will never go back.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, the things that people have used, it's not to say you should do all of this, but if you have access to it, and some of these are prescriptions, but DLPA, magnesium, inositol, glutathione, GABA, ketone IQ, an electrolyte drink, high-dose vitamin C. There is a high-dose vitamin C protocol for withdrawals. Multivitamins, smoothies, glycine, valerian root, ashwagandha, lots of water, melatonin, vitamin infusions, gabapentin, benzodiazepines, carbidopa, levodopa. Those are anti-seizure medications, I believe. CBD, cannabis, NAD, I already said vitamin infusion, meditation, Wim Hof breathing, sauna, cold plunge, movement and stretching, sunshine, company, alone time, apple cider vinegar and baking soda, digestive enzymes, activated charcoal, L-glutamine, Biome 3-day colon cleanse, human connection and people that understand, float tank or Epsom salt bath, clonidine, naltrexone, suboxone, methadone, trazodone, and then there's a new supplement specifically for people quitting Kratom that's called Quit K.
Oh.
And I don't get
Wow.
anything for talking about it, but many of the people in the group have started using it. It's maybe the last 3 or 4 months that it came out. But Quit K has some of these things that I mentioned in there, and there is no way to get through the withdrawals from Kratom painlessly. Like, it's gonna be a slog at some points if you're at a high dose, but there are some ways to reduce the severity of the experience, and those are, if you have access to any of those can just kind of help. But being seen and understood by people is really, really helpful, because it's really alienating to get hooked on a wellness product masquerading as some sort of wellness drink or a safe alternative to alcohol. There's extra shame.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep.
Thanks for doing the show, Noel.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hope that helped anybody. Yeah, hit him up, or if you have any questions, you can hit me up too.
Yeah,
I'm here to help too.
You can reach out to me for anything about any of it. Open book.
All right. See you next week, everybody. Don't die.